the Valkyries, we can talk Valkyries, but I almost feel like before we talk Valkyries, we got to talk about how we're going to talk about the Valkyries. I mean, to me, they've played, 65 games in their entire franchise existence. They're clearly ahead of schedule.
Right.
They are going to make the playoffs 2 consecutive years. They're going to be a pretty high seed this year.
Number 2 right now.
And what else could be equally true is they're not a title contender. They're just not. And that's okay. So I'll be happy to talk Valkyries. They're defensively, they're terrific. They play hard. They do all those kind of things, but they need more talented players on offense because,
just post presence, just a little bit more.
Deep,
like Collier was just, we had no answer for her.
Yeah, well, she's good, and so's Miles. And it's you can play. You can't win a title if you're just a defensive team. Right. You just can't,
no doubt.
And they need more players on offense because
they had Gabby on lock a little bit, and she got hot late.
If you're just a defensive team, teams that have talent offensively are eventually going to be able to break through. Yes. But if you don't have offensive players and the other team's a good defensive team, you're going to struggle. And so we're seeing some of the limitations of the Valkyries. But again, it doesn't take away from where they're at and what they're building. We make a joke about how apparently Lacob told Nakasi she's got 5 years. Well, she's sitting pretty then.
Right, yeah.
And so are the Valkyries. But what you see is, just like in any sport, there's levels. And the Valkyries are a little undersized. They're a little undermanned, and they just don't have enough
I'm with you, man.
Pedigree on offense.
Right.
So,
but it still won't change the excitement. Come playoff time, and maybe you get a chance to battle with Minnesota. But I hear everything you're putting down, man.
Guy saying, I thought offense wins games, but defense wins championships. Defense alone does not win championships. Right. But there's never been a lousy defensive team that's won a championship. So, yes, do they have a defense that can compete with anybody? Absolutely. But you got to score points, especially in this day and age of basketball, whether it's WNBA or the NBA. So,
Sandra Lassini, if I'm saying that correctly, and Gavin Williams, Donnie, they good defense beats good offense, and they were 7 for 30 combined. But they tried to make a run for it, but outscored them in the 4th. But the bottom line is I could see
Miles was hurt, right? Miles got hurt, late in the 3rd.
She's good, man. They got a good team. McBride, they got some gals,
Yeah. Who's got a more realistic chance at winning a championship, the Valkyries or the Niners? Yeah.
Look at my man. I'm going to say the Valkyries.
Really?
Yeah. Because there's not a lot. And again, the Aces, they're out there, and we're ahead of them. But the bottom line is, we got a Minnesota problem. Could the Valkyries do what McVay did to Kyle, where Kyle had his number in the regular season, and the playoffs come and bam. But bottom line is, it's not the opponent for the Niners, partner. It's just the health. And I know you can say, Guru, come on. That's like saying the sun's coming up tomorrow morning. But this Niner team, where they're at, their age, this trek and journey that they've been on, the chances that they had, and they've been the team. But now health is the biggest question mark. I've never, real quick before I throw it back to you, Stoney, I've never come into a season, and I'm being real with this one, under Kyle to where I really don't know which way the season can go. That's how I'm feeling. If you tell me with a crystal ball they're going to be healthy, then I can see them making some noise. But then if the wrong guy or guys go down, then I could see, maybe it's not so great. So that's why I'm excited just about tonight. We're not going to find anything out, but we get to see Brock get a couple reps in the others. But, man, Stoney, I would answer the Valkyries. What would your answer be?
The 49ers. The 49ers. And it's because I look at that team, and, yes, they're old, and I can't stand old teams, but the reality of the situation is they have players on their team who have gotten to the Super Bowl, and they've got players on their team who have won it at almost the highest level. And so if the 49ers have everything fall into place this year and they don't suffer any significant injuries or they make it through the year mostly healthy, then yes, I think they're a playoff team. And in the NFL, once you're a playoff team, I consider you a title contender because you're only one of 14 teams playing. So, yeah, I would give the 49ers a better chance to win a title than the Valkyries because, they know a little bit about what it's going to take to get back to a Super Bowl. And the Valkyries are pretty much in uncharted territory. And I think objectively, the talent on both teams, I think the 49ers have more talent and are more ready to do it. But, by the same token, the 49ers are probably more fragile than the Valkyries. The Valkyries have a style and, they don't have a superstar, so they got a system. But, the Niners, if they have injuries and get a couple bad breaks, it's possible that they could have a long season.
I hear you. Let me just run this by you because it's obvious that we feel like, through 3 games that the Valkyries have a Lynx problem. But what about the fact, am I overreacting, or let me know if I'm omitting something because the Niners were banged up. But those 8 quarters against Seattle, who is the defending Super Bowl champion, they suffocated the Niners in 2 big games. So I guess when I look and you ask me that question, I think about, am I overreacting because now the Niners are going to come into this season healthy? They got a Mike Evans. So maybe that gap from McDonald's defense and Kyle's offense is not as big as it appears to be? Or was that just the Niners were banged up and Seattle took advantage of them twice?
That's what we'll probably find out this year, quite frankly. But, yeah, we're going to get into the Niners. Obviously, they've got an exhibition game tonight against the Chargers, second exhibition game out of 3 this season. And one of the things that's, interesting to me is that this year the 49ers seem to be in a little different boat. And what I mean by that is I feel like in the last few years we've talked about the 49ers as a Super Bowl contender, and I don't feel like we're talking about them like that this year. And my question would be why? Is it simply because we think that they're too old and they're not going to be able to make it through the year? Is that the reason that we're not talking about them like contenders? I don't know.